Welcome to the how-to training video for the Orsa After Action Report, or AAR. This short video will explain the details of how to properly fill out and submit the After Action Report upon course completion. Here we go. You've just completed a course of instruction, and now it's time to complete your After Action Report. You start by clicking on the link provided in the instruction document. This will ensure that you always have the most up-to-date form. The link will open an Adobe PDF file. You can either fill out the form in its entirety now, or save the file to your desktop or any file folder on your computer. This will allow you to save the data and work on it at your convenience. It's important that you always download a new form for each course completion. The form starts with a request date for the training event. Please enter the date that the training event was originally requested. From there, the remaining blocks on page 1 are self-explanatory. Please ensure that you fill in all the applicable blocks. Of note, the training location, state, and country will auto-populate once you select the base and either click on the next block or hit the Tab button. All of the drop-down menus can be manually filled in if your desired data is not available. For example, if the base you're training at does not appear in the drop-down, simply type in the correct data. If the class size will accommodate filling out a class roster, page 2 is provided with a class roster form to fill out. You have a couple of choices on how to fill this data in. First choice, you can print out a blank class roster form on the first day of training, circulate it around the class, and have the students manually fill in the roster information. You'll find a copy of the blank roster by selecting the File Attachment paperclip icon in the lower left of your screen. Just select the file and then select Open Attachment. You can now print the blank sheet and distribute it to the class. You then transcribe the information into the class roster section of the After Action Report PDF file. Or your second choice is to set up a laptop in the back of the room and have the students fill in the data directly on the PDF form during their breaks. Either way, the data should be entered on the first day of the course and reviewed by the team leader for accuracy. Now, let's go through each section of the class roster. We'll use Sergeant First Class Stephen Smith for this demonstration. Last name. First name. The last 4 numbers of the Social Security number. Next is the service the student is a member of, in this case, Army. The student's rank. In this case, we'll select Sergeant First Class and their NEC, MOS, or designator as applicable to the specific service. Here we'll enter 89 Delta, which corresponds to an explosive ordnance disposal specialist. The next entry is the staff title the student will be filling while on deployment. Just select the drop-down and select the proper title. Here we'll select Brigade Staff Fusion Chief. Next are the time and service blocks by year and month. We'll enter 10 years, 2 months. The next entry specifies the unit that the student is attached to. Ensure that the student provides the full unit designation, being as specific as possible. 760th Ordnance Company EOD is preferable to 760th Company. For our example, we'll enter 760th Ordnance Company EOD. Last entry on the form is the student's email. Now, this block is critical to fill out to ensure that the student receives his or her student critique form. Please do not let them leave this block blank. Okay, so that's it for the student roster. Ensure the number of students entered on the student roster corresponds with the actual number that attended the course, and ensure to QA the form to ensure all blocks are filled out appropriately. Next, we'll cover the Lessons Learned page. Here, you'll have room to enter information for 7 separate instructor observations, including an area to provide a discussion and recommendations which address specific observations. Information entered in the observations and recommendation blocks cannot exceed 250 words. And lastly comes the summary section. This is the portion of the After Action Report where team leaders and instructors have the opportunity to enter any additional information relevant to the conduct of the course that is not covered in any of the preceding sections. Once you've proofread your AAR for accuracy, it's time to submit the form. The Submit button is located on page 4. just below the summary block. Once you select Submit, you'll see a download status screen. The time to transmit the completed AAR varies depending on file size. Please be patient, and the form will transmit. You'll receive a thank you screen indicating that the file has been successfully uploaded. As the instructor facilitator, your AAR submission process is complete. At this point, the form will be submitted to the next person in the chain of command to review the form. If you are the first reviewer of the AAR, you will receive the form via email. Please review the form for accuracy and that all the appropriate data fields are complete. If the form contains errors that you, as the reviewer, are unable to correct, you can return the form back to the originator for corrections. You simply attach the form as an email attachment and send the form back to the individual who originally submitted the form. He or she can then make the changes and submit the form again by selecting the Submit button. Simple corrections can be made by the reviewer, and they will be saved on the form when it is submitted. At the bottom of page 4, you'll find an extra text box for any amplifying comments that are appropriate. Once you've reviewed the form and found that it's satisfactory, your next step is to submit the form to the database. You simply need to select the Submit button, and the form with the data will be delivered to the R3 offices and the JCOE database. At this point, the entire AAR process is complete for the Orsa team. The team members of R3 will take it from here. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, contact Mr. Leon Tackett of R3 Strategic Support Group at 800-418-2040 extension 5 or email leon.tackett@r3ssg.com or Mr. Randy Bradford at 800-418-2040 extension 4 or email randy.bradford@r3ssg.com. Thanks for your patience and participation, and we hope that you found this video to be helpful. Have a great day.